Hi, everyone, and welcome to A and B Horror Movies videos. I'm Aaron,
I'm Ben.
and today we're very excited to be joined by Aislinn Clarke. Aislinn, welcome.
Me. Hello, nice to
Coming
meet you
on.
all.
Yes, this is great. So you wrote and directed The Devil's Doorway, the found footage Irish horror film that's streaming now. Very scary. We can't wait to chat with you about it. So welcome. Ben, why don't I turn it over to you and you can ask the first question.
Yeah. I suppose the first question would be, how did it all come about, the story, and obviously making it into the movie?
Yeah. So at the time that The Devil's Story was released in 2018, in the UK 2019. And when it came to making it, I had done short films. I hadn't done that was my first feature film.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
but I'd done a whole load of theater. And how the film came about was that I was known to Northern Ireland Screen, who are our primary kind of public funding body in Northern Ireland for films. And because I'd made some short films and they knew I was doing that. And one of the producers of The Devil's Doorway, had an idea he wanted to make a found footage film set in a Michael laundry. That's all that there was at that point. There was no script or anything, and he was envisioning more like Blair Witch Project or something. We get some 20-year-olds and stick them in and scare the crap out of them, and improv the whole thing. That was the idea. And I met with him. I think he met with other directors as well. And I had years before, I used to work in TV, and I had done a whole load of research for a documentary that didn't end up getting made at the end of the day. But I did all the research on Michael laundries. I'd spoken to people who are in these places. I'd spoken to people who'd been born there or trying to find their parents. So I knew that they were still a very sore subject for a lot of people. The last one closed in 1996. It's not ancient history. So I thought this is simultaneously really, I think horror is a really good vehicle for exploring social trauma, but I also think that you have to be careful with it, especially when it's something that's so recent. Um,
Yeah.
I felt that if you were going to tell a story like that, that you shouldn't make it just about ghosts from the past, that you have to say something. And I felt that the best way to do that was to set it in like 1960, when these places were heaving with people and everybody knew about them. They existed in the community. And so that's what I pitched. And I said, and also I think the nice thing about that is that it gives you the opportunity to have an aesthetic that's a little different to what we usually see in fan footage. Fan footage kind of comes automatically with a picture in your head of grainy, kind of bad camera. That's all part of it. It's part of what makes it
Yeah.
feel real. But this
Mhm.
felt like an opportunity to do something. If it's 1960, they're not using the kind of camera equipment we have now. So they're shooting probably on 16 millimeter and make it more of a kind of Maisels Brothers 60s documentary, which I think is aesthetically interesting when we see so much
For
of
sure.
the kind.
Yeah.
So that was what I suggested. That's what he liked, and then we got the money, and that was it. It was all go. We
Amazing.
didn't improv it though. We'll make that point. We didn't improv it. You can't improv a film like that that's so removed from the experience of the actor. It would be a car crash mess. So
Exactly.
we did.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, very cool. And I
Yeah.
think your film is probably the only one set, at least the found footage horror film set in a Magdalene laundry. Um,
I think
so
so.
yeah, so congratulations to you for that. You mentioned that it's set in 1960, which I think feels very authentic, the way it was shot. How did you, so what sort of cameras did you use? What were the techniques that you um, had to resort to make it feel like it was set in the 1960s?
We used an actual 16 millimeter. We used
Cool.
two cameras. We used an actual
Oh,
16 millimeter for anything that was daylight, or like bright light, because I think you get away with it a lot less. And
mhm.
I think it's really hard to replicate the textures and the skin tones in particular. So I think that's a massive part of it. And actually, it's really hard to get, this won't be a surprise to anyone, to get producers to agree to using film ever, because it's an expense versus essentially nothing.
Mm.
When it comes to digital, you can shoot with it,
Yeah.
it doesn't have a cost in and of itself. So myself and the director of photography, Ryan Kernahan, did some screen tests, and we showed this footage to the producers, and we're like, this is the difference. And it was crucial to them, given that it's a found footage film, that it should feel to have the texture of the real, that it should feel that people watching it should be able to immerse themselves in that feeling. I think that's crucial to found footage. So for that reason, they bought that and went with it and let us use film. So as I say, that was for like anything that was lit, either it was daylight or was lit in such a way that it would be a giveaway. And then the rest of it, we used, I'm trying to remember exactly what camera, it was an Arri camera, a digital camera, um, for particularly anything low light and anything that needed post-production tweaking. It gives you've got a bit more safety in post-production if it's digital, you know, so that was the balance that we struck.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, it looks great.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you.
does.
And I think it, well, Ryan's such a good DP, you know, so yeah, it
Yeah.
did a great job.
Well, I was
Excellent.
actually I love found footage, and I always say to Aaron, "Oh, it's gone too far," or "This is not scary now, and it's ruined this." And this film didn't. It was really good. It had a good atmosphere. I love the bit with the crying statues and where they like all explode, and it just had a really good creepy vibe to it. But I've got to ask: was there anything that you didn't make the cut of the film that you kind of wish had it stayed in?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. First of all, thanks for your kind words. I appreciate that. And well, there definitely was. I mean, there always is. There's always, you know, no one ever uses everything. I think I think the things that I miss that aren't in there are not actually like horror beats. I think usually horror beats, those moments, those like scare moments, those like
Yeah,
dramatic kind of high points are really valuable. And producer, you're never going to get in a fight with a producer where they're going to want to get rid of them. They always want to keep them, unless it just doesn't work, you know.
yeah,
But generally, they're kind of protected. It's more the stuff that's a little bit of color, a little bit of
yeah,
atmosphere, a little bit of more like there was more stuff in it that was the day-to-day kind of like Maisels Brothers cinema verite kind of moments that I think actually really helped to make it feel like they really were making a documentary, you know.
yeah,
And then all this stuff happened rather than you've just focused on all the stuff that's leading to the moments. It ends up like that because that's what horror movies do. But I'll always think it's a little bit of a shame that you don't have those little color moments in there, you know, like there was, and I had a cameo. I had a group of nuns sharing a cigarette, kind of shot from a distance, which I really liked.
all
And
right.
I
Oh,
was one of the
cool.
nuns, and it's like I really regret not like pushing to keep that little moment in particular, you know. But
Yeah,
yeah, stuff like that.
Awesome.
cool.
Yeah, I missed that. That's great. Let's see. So there are some very intense and scary scenes in this. But first, I want to give a shout out to you for the puppet. That was a really nice. I mean, any sort of scary little doll kind of thing can be perfect in movies, and it worked really well. Um, and I love the moment when the father turns around and sees that there's a girl, and she says, "They're gonna kill you." That was perfect. So my question is, while you were filming it, did you know that some of these scenes were going to be even scarier and intense than you imagined while you were making them? Were there moments on the set where you're like, wow, like I got chills. This was so good.
I think it's a funny thing is that, and I've heard other people say this, that I've never been in anybody else's set except my own, but I've heard other people say this that also make horror films, that actually you have the most crack on a horror film set. Like that's just really good fun, you know, like everyone's having a good time.
It's
The
cool.
atmosphere that you see in the film is not there on the set. It's a completely different atmosphere.
Hmm.
And I think it's really hard to tell um, whether or not things are going to work until you get into post-production.
Hmm.
So, and also when you're shooting, like, it's a bit different with a found footage film because everything has to be done in one camera, in one take. All your
Hmm.
horror beats, you don't have the luxury of like cutting together different bits and so on. Um, so you have kind of a sense of it, I guess, but you don't really have the full feeling until you get into the edit and you're doing all the other post-production and the elements are coming together. That's when it really, you know, comes to life. So you're you're going on instinct, trust, and hope, and you know, that's it. You're thinking, I think this will work, but you don't really know how it emotionally feels till you get it into post-production.
Hmm. Excellent. Okay, good answer.
With obviously with the location where you was filming, well, actually, my question is, where was the location? And can I ask, was there, because it looked quite old, was there anything strange that happened while you was there, or was it not as old as it looked?
Oh no, there were two locations. So one was a place called KBL Mill, in Antrim, Northern Ireland. It's an old disused linen mill, and it's been used for a bunch of stuff. It's been used for a lot of TV stuff. I think Ripper Street and Frankenstein were shot there.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
Cool.
and then there, and so that we use that for any of like the big sort of laundry spaces where you need that kind of like industrial height and everything. And for some of the offices, and then Lord Craigavon's house in Belfast, which was a hospital, turned into a hospital during or after the war, the Second World War.
Yeah.
And since then has been pretty much just empty. We used it, it was kind of falling apart, completely, but we had a really good art department that made it look like, you could live there. It was freezing. There was no heating. We had fires in all the fireplaces all the time. It was absolutely freezing.
Oh my
But
gosh.
in terms of weird stuff that happened, well, you know that bit in the film where they find the satanic sanctuary. So they go down these steps. They go
Mhm.
down there a few times, and there's the satanic sanctuary. Um, that was just spooky. That was just weird, spooky place.
Yeah.
It just had that feeling. But I guess like a lot of basementy type spaces feel like that.
Yes.
But we shot for 15 days. We were supposed to shoot for 16. But we actually, in a completely, like, that never happens. We finished before we had an extra day.
Oh,
It
nice.
never, literally never happens.
Oh
So
wow.
the 16th day, when we were supposed to still be there, so there's space that we used as the church. It was actually like a ballroom, and we used it as a sort of a church where he's examining the statue early on in the film, and the whole roof caved in on the
Oh,
16th day, and we should have been
Oh,
there, and
oh,
we weren't there,
oh my
just
gosh.
like a movie magic. But yeah, that was pretty freaky.
Wow.
It was a bit like the Omen curse kind of vibes at that point.
this is why I love films. I think the best kind of films are with where you've got with all the beliefs of religious beliefs and stuff. Because now you said that, it's now even shone more light onto this film. This made it even more brilliant for me. So stuff like that is just amazing.
It was spooky. It was spooky.
That is amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm processing. That's great. Let's see. I want to talk a little bit about the ending. So the tunnels. I don't want to give anything away. It feels very claustrophobic, and I imagine that was your intention there. What was it like filming those scenes? How did you fit everyone in the small space? And perhaps was it as small as it seems when you watch the film?
So there's actually a combination of a couple of different, but it doesn't seem like that in the film, but there's a combination of several different spaces. Some
Okay.
of it is actually in the kind of underneath of the house. You go down where that satanic sanctuary was, and there was a sort of a part where you could crawl in. You can see that bit in the film where they crawl through the wall, kind of that really existed there.
Yes.
So there
Yikes.
was some tunnel space there in that house, and then we kind of matched it up with other tunnel space that
Mm.
was elsewhere, that was underground tunnel kind of situation. So there's a number of different things going on there with that. And it comes to just, and some of the spaces are a little wider than the others, they're not all the same size, but
Mhm.
you're just basically like, there was a lot of Lawler being Father Thomas, just, and fair play to him, like, just crawling through, just like getting in there. And then it was really, most of the time, it was just a very limited, it was like Ryan has to get in there with the camera. The actors have to get in there if they're in that scene or in that shot. And we need to get sound in there. Uh, but I had a monitor, so I wasn't in the tunnels.
You didn't have to
And
go in.
no, thank God. I don't think anyone else was really in there. Like, if they needed anything like a makeup touch up or a costume thing or anything, I think they probably come out, if memory serves. But Yeah, so it's just about keeping it to the minimum. It was really just a handheld camera, one actor, so
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah. And I just, Ben, before you jump in, I just want to say one last thing. I really like how you start the film with the ending in a way, because it shows you what's to come and it really hooks the audience. It certainly got my attention. So well done with that.
Well, thanks. I think I actually didn't really want to do that in the first place, if I
Oh,
remember correctly.
okay.
But I understand the purpose of it. It's just, yeah, it goes, hey, you're watching a horror film, strap in, don't go
It's a
anywhere,
good,
you know.
it's a
Yeah,
good hook. I think it
yeah,
works.
You were saying at the start with obviously you've got the serious untrue nature of the laundries that did happen, and then you've got like the horror side with the ghosts and everything. Was that hard to balance that? Obviously, as you writ the film, did you have to change it a lot because it maybe didn't fit with the script as it went, or was it kind of a tiptoe kind of situation?
Um, well, I think it is a balance. It is a difficult balance. Like
Mm.
it is tricky and it's delicate. The script was actually written super quickly because we originally remember it was envisioned as a improvised film. So that
Yeah,
was the expectation on the part of the funders and so on, that it was like, and it fitted into their schedule in a certain way, whatever. So we got the green light, and I think it was like May or maybe June. And then we had to have the principal photography all finished by like December. So
yeah,
that's in the film world, that's like crazy, you know, like that's no script, nothing.
Wow.
That's development step one, you know, in May to whole film done in December, not the post-production, but the shoot. So it was done in a really concentrated space of time. I think the fact that I'd done so much research um helped a lot with that, because I'd already done all that research, you know, and I already had like a bunch of contacts and stuff. And then I think the second part of your question then was about um give it to me again, because I think I may have got it warped in my
I'm
head.
kind of listening to you now. Kind of forgot what I asked. It's basically how um, getting the balance right. How difficult was it? And did you have to tiptoe around the sort of the laundry side of the story more than you expected? Because, as you said, it's a really serious matter, and
Yeah.
it did happen. And as you said, it's not that
Mhm.
old. It is quite fresh still. So
Yeah.
Yeah. If memory serves correctly, I think like there had to be special insurance or something like that in
okay.
case feathers were ruffled. And
Uh-huh.
you can imagine which feathers we're talking about, you know.
Yes,
But
yes.
I think while this is the first horror film that's about a Magdalene Laundry, it's not the first film that's about a Magdalene Laundry. There have been other documentaries. There's been, you know,
Mm.
Peter Mullen's brilliant Magdalene Sisters and so on.
Yes,
With a lot of
it's a great
media
film. Mhm.
content. Yeah, it is a good film. A lot of media content and so on. So I wasn't trying to, I didn't want to go over any old ground either, you
Yeah,
know?
Mhm.
So what I'm kind of grappling with in the film is the idea of, right, so for a long time there's been a bunch of stuff that the church have done that's been atrocious, horrendous, like abuses and so on. And I think priests have become just the sort of bad guy. You know, he's a bad guy. You know, like this. And I
yeah,
think that that actually is a stultifying way of looking at morality, because while there's a lot of priests who did a lot of bad things, not saying that they didn't, the reality is that these institutions existed in the
yeah,
community. People knew about them. I think if you have an easy bad guy, then you don't actually grapple with the difficult issues. And so that is like, what is it? How can you be a good man in this system? And that's Thomas's central question. How can I be the man that I wanted to be when I decided I want to be a priest? How can I maintain that in this labyrinthine structure, this apparatus of the
Mhm.
church? So it's about that, because there's no point in me saying the same thing Peter Mullen said, or the same thing that the Song for a Raggy Boy said, or all these documentaries. So
Yeah.
that's the line I took it down.
And I think it was effective. You touched upon it enough, but it wasn't the major focus of the film.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you're making a horror film, and you know, it's
Exactly.
yeah. But it is actually a very tricky balance. Yeah, it was a
Yeah,
good
yeah,
question.
that is a good question. Let's see. So we do have some viewer questions. Why don't we jump into that? Do you want me to go first, Ben?
Yeah, you can go for it.
Okay, so this is from Niall Owens, who directed Gateway and came out in 2021. It's streaming now, and we did have Niall on a couple weeks ago. So he said, what were the challenges you faced as a director when making a found footage movie? Were there things you expected, or were there things you didn't expect that happened?
Um, on the shoot, in terms of like found footage in a general sense, there wasn't really anything that I didn't expect because by that stage you kind of know what you know what I mean. There's always going to be stuff that you don't expect, but in a found footage sense, I knew what I was
Mhm.
getting into by the time we were on the shoot. But um, I hadn't been sitting around for a long time thinking, oh, I'd love to make a found footage film. I like found footage. Never occurred to me that I might make one.
Mhm.
Um, this came up and that's how it kind of worked out as I've described to you earlier. So the the thing about found footage is that on the one hand, it's very maligned, like you probably know this
Mhm.
yourself. People will always go, "Oh, found footage." There's like a knee-jerk kind of reaction to it, and I think that's because it is cheap and easy to make. So there's been a lot of it made, and whenever you get a lot of something made, you're going to get a lot of stuff that's not great. But it doesn't mean that the subgenre itself is flawed. It isn't. The subgenre itself has infinite possibilities, but it also has challenges that are totally unique to found footage.
Mhm.
So and I think that's interesting and actually kind of fun and in a way sort of freeing. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed making it actually. So if you have a horror beat, you have to be so creative, you have to be so thoughtful because even in how they're designed on the page and then actually shot, because
Mhm.
everything has to happen in camera, everything has to happen. If there's a cut, it better be well hidden. The primary thing with found footage, no matter how meat-headed the film in question is that it has to feel like it's real. You've lost everything if it
Yeah.
feels artificial. So that's actually a really hard thing to maintain. And the found footage films that do it well do it really well, and it's hard. It's kind of invisible. People don't really aren't aware of it, but it's really difficult to do that. So there's that, and then also the performance style. Um, the performance style is either if you improv it, you're going to get real natural performances because you're improving. Like in the Blair Witch, a lot of that was improv.
Mhm.
Um, Whereas in my film, like Lawler Roddy is a phenomenal actor, and I already knew him. He's bigger in the theater world here maybe than he is in films elsewhere, but I knew that it was a real safe pair of hands, and he really understood
Mhm.
the job that he was doing, and that was he's not. There's a difference between performing in a drama film and performing, uh, trying to seem like it's real, like a documentary style performance. It's really hard to do actually.
Yeah.
Um, so that there's a delicacy to that I think a lot of people don't get actually. How difficult it is to act like that versus acting well in a drama film where there's an artifice anyway and a sense of kind of a heightened reality.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I think you've done a fantastic job with how real it felt. I really
Thank,
enjoyed that.
Yeah.
thank you.
Great cast too.
Yeah.
Let's see. We do have one more question from Niall. He said, "Did the documentary style of the found footage approach assist the actors and you as a director to get in the characters with more ease?" And I think you kind of touched upon this a little bit, but
Yeah, I think as I say, I think it's really hard
yeah.
for an actor um to properly pull that off. And it's
Mhm.
very delicate and it's almost, as I say, invisible. If you're doing it well, you don't really notice it. It's like it's very tricky actually. All of the tools that they use for normal um performance are not the same tools that you use to do this kind of performance. And Lawler in particular, absolutely unbelievable. He's so good. He's such a good actor. How he's not like rich and famous and known all over the world, I'll never understand.
Yes.
But yeah, his performance was a big part of making it real.
Very talented. Agreed. Um,
Um,
Excellent. Ben, do you want to do the, we got one more question. Do you want to
this from
take it?
Anthony's movies are garbage. I got it right that time,
You
didn't
did, yes.
I? What was the casting process for the Mother Superior role? Was it a difficult role to choose Helena Berrine, I believe? That's
Lena
finished
Breen, yeah.
for the part.
Um, yeah, the casting was super quick for everybody as well. As I already said, it was a very short process making this film. And for the Mother Superior roles, I remember we got loads of self tapes for everybody actually, for all the roles. And Lawler was found then in a completely different way. But Helena was one of those initial like self-tapes that then, based on self-tapes, I then met with some people and narrowed it down that way. But I knew Helena from theater already. My husband works in theater too, and he'd done a show that she was in, and so that's kind of how that worked. And she was just like the right person instantly. She just has a great,
Fantastic.
and she's actually the sweetest woman in the world. Like she's the nicest woman, and she's so funny, and she's such a good crack. But she's just something when she takes on that Mother Superior face. It's like there's a nastiness that kind of comes out that's not there at all in the real Helena.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, perfect. It's just perfect. Very strong and scary even. Um,
Yeah.
let's see. Okay, well, thank you to Anthony and Niall for the questions.
Yeah.
We just wanted to do a this or that segment next. So I told you a little bit about how this works. It's supposed to be fun and it goes fast. We just list out two things and you pick one or the other.
Okay.
Ben, do you want me to start? Or do
Yeah,
you want
go
to
for it.
start? All
No,
right.
no, you.
Exorcist 1 or Exorcist 3?
Exorcist 1, but I mean Exorcist 3, that like
3, so
that's
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
so good. Yeah. 1 though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Murder mystery or thriller?
Thriller, I think.
Good
Cool.
choice. Oh, back to me. Amityville Horror or The Poltergeist? Or Poltergeist?
Poltergeist.
Yeah.
That is tricky though. They're very different, but yeah, I love both, but I think Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Possessions or slashes?
Probably Possessions, but actually, despite having made a possession film myself, sort of, neither of those are my favorite genre of horror, but
Yeah.
I like both. Both are really great films, but Possessions, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. Let's see. Go to a restaurant or cook at home?
Go to a restaurant, obviously. Who the heck
Who
chooses
wants to cook, right?
Somebody's paying for this restaurant, right? Because that makes sense.
Cabin in the woods or city vacation?
A what in the woods? Cabin?
Cabin in the woods or city vacation?
Cabin in the woods, probably. Assuming that there's no serial killer
Of course, yes.
or a
A
clown, which
a
probably is.
safe cabin. Let's see. Summer or fall?
Fall,
Me too.
Cool.
as we say.
Zombies or demons?
Demons. I've never been that mad into zombies. I think they're a little boring, actually. Sometimes it's been interestingly done. There's some good movies, but I think
Yeah.
on the whole, I'm not that mad about zombies.
Let's see. Monsters Attack or Alien Invasion?
Ooh, Alien Invasion. I don't
Both,
know why.
both good, but
I'm
yeah.
just picking one. But I haven't seen actually an Alien Invasion film in a while. It's like, are we due a new like elevated horrors out the window, bring in the aliens kind of moment?
Yeah, sure.
I'm for it.
Yeah, me too. All right, Ben, I'll let you do the last one.
Yeah, right. Always ask this one. Jaws or Halloween, the original 78?
Jaws, I think. I love Halloween too.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but
Yes.
Jaws just kind of has it all. Like there's a big shark,
You see
it's
Ben smiling, look behind him.
Jaws is my favorite film, and Halloween is Aaron's. So
Yeah, I've got some Halloween right behind
you
me.
always.
also a great film.
Of course.
And yeah, and they both have really good scores, obviously as well. But
Mhm.
I think Jaws gets the edge for me.
Yeah, excellent. I do have one last question. So now that you've done a found footage film, is there another horror subgenre you would like to do if given the
Um,
opportunity?
Probably my favorite subgenre is folk horror.
Mm.
I love a good folk horror, like The Wicker Man.
Oh yeah.
So I have actually made a folk horror film that's coming out later this year.
Oh,
Uh,
say
so
more. Can you say more about
yeah,
getting in
I'll,
trouble?
no, I can't really talk about the distribution yet because it's just been
Okay.
agreed, or like
Mhm.
it's still, but it is coming out, that's for sure, in the UK and North America and Japan, Spain, and New Zealand, Australia, um, and
Very
it's
exciting.
called Froica, which is an Irish word. So I went to all, like I was brought up speaking Irish language, did all my education through Irish language. So it's in Irish, which I think is completely cool because first of all, I love the language and I think, language is kind of different filter on the world, so it's a different film than it would be in English. And also I think horror fans are happy to watch films that are in non-English
Yes.
languages. It's like there's
Yes.
so many, yeah. So I think, yeah, it's coming out later this year. Watch this space.
Oh, we
Uh,
can't wait. What's the tagline? Do you have a tagline yet?
I don't have a tagline yet. We have a poster. We just got mock-ups through yesterday, which is really cool. But
Oh,
we don't have a tagline yet.
well, please keep us updated. We'd love to have you on again to talk about your new film.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to.
Okay. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for chatting with us. The Devil's Doorway, like I said, is streaming now, I believe AMC Plus, Prime Video, Apple TV. I think there are a number of platforms as well. It's on YouTube. So if you haven't seen it, check out The Devil's Doorway. Great found footage film. We think you will like it.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, definitely. Same as that. Go and watch it. And I would say if you was quite let down by the new Omen, like I was, I would definitely go and watch this film because I think this would have made a much better sequel to that. That's how good this I preferred this. So well done with that.
Well, here's hoping that the gods in Hollywood hear you and
Yeah.
take that in.
Yes, yes.
This was really done well. As I said, I'm a huge found footage fan, and I always say to Aaron, "Oh, it's killed it now. That's gone over the top." And this wasn't. It was just perfect. Left enough to the imagination, let you see enough, and
Thank you so
congrats
much.
on that. Yeah. But thank you for coming on. And
Delighted to do it and to meet you both. So thanks for having me.
This has been amazing. Ben, do you want to do the quick closeout?
yeah, go over to Instagram, follow us over there, AMB Horror Movies. Thank you if you've already subscribed to the channel, and if you come across to it, hit the like, subscribe, it helps us, and cheers for watching. Thank you again for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you very
everyone.
much. All right.